Hello and welcome to Street Raj IS. My name is Shashank Roy, and we are here with a new topic, not new topic, for the news analysis for from the Hindu newspaper. All the important articles have been taken together, and we are going to cover 11th of April 2026 news. So let's start with the food for thought. Find your why, and you will find your way, written by John C. Maxwell. Find your why and you will find your way, John C. Maxwell. What it means is that if you know your purpose, you will never run out of energy. Now, if you don't know your purpose, why you are doing something, then you will run short of energy, you will run short of your fuel, and this is what is going to happen. So find out your why. That if you want to become an IS, why? If you want to join Indian Police Service, why? Right? And here, this is the first editorial. Submarine Dominance Bolstering India's Deterrence, written by Harsh V. Pant. And this is all related to India's induction of third submarine, nuclear based submarine, right? And this is one of the biggest, one of a very important achievement for India in its warfare capability. So this is the poster of Ghazi attack. Ghazi attack was done during 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, and during that period in Indian Ocean region, PNS Ghazi was trying to find out Indian. I mean, PNS Ghazi was in Indian Ocean region and trying to attack INS Vikrant, but at the same time, Indian submarine hunted down PNS Ghazi, and many people got buried alive under seabed, and till date nobody knows where the PNS Ghazi went. So this is the poster of PNS Ghazi. If you find time, please watch it. And this is the original article: bolstering deterrence through submarine dominance. Now this is how the syllabus will be integrated. This is GS paper 2. It's GS paper 3. It's security, nuclear deterrence, maritime security, defense technology, indigenous defense production. In GS paper 2, we will have India-China strategic competition, Indo-Pacific security, nuclear doctrine, and global power balance. So what exactly is nuclear triad? And before that, let's understand that why India needs it, why India needs to spend so billions of dollars on defense only instead of using it for social sector development. So first of all, make India's country profile. If you look at India's country profile, you'll find that India is surrounded with two primary adversaries. One is Pakistan and the second one is China, and there may be a two front war possibility, two front war. Apart from that, we have certain hostile actors and neighbors in our neighborhood. And if you look at in the past 6 7 years, China is increasing its footprint in Indian Ocean region in the garb of Belt and Road Initiative. Again, India also claims to be a net security provider in Indian Ocean region and providing any kind of human assistance in disaster relief. So India considers Indian Ocean region as its backyard, but now this backyard is being encroached upon by none other than China. How China does that? China does that with the help of Belt and Road Initiative. Now, if you look at India's neighborhood, China is developing massive infrastructure in India's neighborhood. You talk about Bangladesh, you talk about Myanmar, you talk about Nepal, you talk about Pakistan. We have China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, right, which is crossing Pak-occupied Kashmir. India has protested about it, and this China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is entering into Arabian Sea or near Persian Gulf through Gwadar Port, which is just few hundred kilometers away, from India's strategic naval establishment. So, keeping in mind India's geography, you'll be able to understand that why India is developing or ramping up its security infrastructure or deterrence capability. So, I hope things are clear. I hope you remember Mumbai terrorist attack. People came from Karachi, entered into Mumbai, and attacked, and which is known as 26/11. I hope you have watched Dhurandhar 2. Dhurandhar 1 and 2, people are calling it a propaganda movie. I will not get into that whether it's a propaganda movie or not. But what I'm trying to say that in that movie you will come across a scene where Mumbai terrorist attack is taking place, and the Pakistani handlers or IS intel chief people are celebrating There are celebratory firing because India was attacked by Pakistani terrorists. Keeping in mind all these activities and the recent attack in West Asia between USA and Iran, USA and Iran, what is happening? We are also feared about spillover this war because recently few missiles were launched towards Diego Garcia, which is a foreign military base in Indian Ocean region. So India has to be prepared. The war might be with another country, but the country must be prepared to avoid any kind of spillover effect. So this is India's threat profile, right? Now, if we go for the nuclear triad, what exactly is nuclear triad? If you look at this triangle, right, let's understand what is nuclear triad, right? Nuclear triad. So we have land, we have oceans, and we have air force, right? Air. So what is nuclear triad means that from all the sources, from all, whether it is land, ocean, or air force, we can launch a nuclear attack. That is the clear meaning of having a nuclear triad. Means we have means and materials and platforms which can be used on land, ocean, and air force to launch nuclear warheads. So how it can be done? If you look at land, we have multiple weapon systems through which we have missile systems. We have missile systems such as BrahMos, right? We have Agni series missiles, Agni series starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have different missiles, right? Sagarika, and these can be launched with nuclear warheads. Again, we have in Indian Air Force. If we talk about Air Force capability, so we have MiG 21, MiG 29, MiG 19. We have Jaguar, we have Sukhoi, we have Tejas, we have Rafale. So these are the platforms through which we can launch nuclear warheads from air platform. In ocean, we have multiple submarines. Submarines. The first was INS Arihant, right? Then we launched Arighat, and now we are launching Aridaman, right? So these are the nuclear submarines. Apart from that, we have also INS Vikrant, INS Vikrant, Virat. These are only warship. So these are the platforms, these are the mediums through which we can launch nuclear warhead and we can cripple the enemy, right? Though India's nuclear doctrine says that no first strike, India's nuclear doctrine says that no first use, but in case of any nuclear attack on us, what we will do, we will launch a crippling and speedy attack on our adversary. So if you look at Operation Sindoor was just short of nuclear weapons, nuclear war, and we stopped just after touching the threshold of nuclear war. And that's why Donald Trump claims that he is the one who forced India and Pakistan to stop this war, right? But Indian government has never accepted it, whereas Pakistan has accepted that yes, there was a intervention from Donald Trump, and for which Donald Trump wanted him to get a Nobel Peace Prize. So these are the diagrams through which I try to make you understand uh, the deterrence capacity and India's risk profile. Now here are certain images, right? If you look at these infographic, you will get to know the capacity of India, China, and Pakistan, and the weapon system which can be used for launching weapons against India or towards Pakistan and China from land, ocean, and air force. This is also one India's nuclear triad related details. Then this is the Navy's Gladiator. Okay. Now these are some of the interesting infographic, and you will enjoy it. If you look at Indian Ocean region, China is in making inroads into Indian Ocean region. China is developing, has developed already massive infrastructure, and these infrastructures are dual use infrastructure, dual purpose infrastructure, which can be used for as a ports, but at the same time can also be used for launching attack against India. And especially if you look at India, India is one of the dominant players in Indian Ocean region, with 11,000 kilometers of coast. Now this 11,000 kilometer of coast is making India vulnerable, and as well as it's a great opportunity for India as well. So, but here we will centered around the geopolitics. So, China's rising footprint in Indian Ocean region is forcing India to rethink and upgrade its military preparedness for any kind of situation. Now, editorial analysis says bolstering deterrence through submarine dominance. Now, April 3rd, Rajnath Singh posted on X that mentioning Aridaman triggered speculation about INS Aridhaman, likely third nuclear ballistic missile submarine, nuclear submarine after INS Arihant in 2016 and INS Arighat in 2024. Now, India's submarine program says they are nuclear powered and ballistic missile submarine. They are the backbone of credible second strike capability. Next is INS Arihant is the first operational submarine. INS Arighat improved firepower, and INS Aridaman is coming with advanced and likely larger missile capacity. Now, capability comparison, we will talk about it. You don't need to remember everything. Now, Arihant class says K-15 750 kilometer range with limited deterrence. Arighat with 3,500 kilometer range, and now we have come up with 7,500 kilometer range with this one. So India's nuclear triad is land is Agni missile, air fighter aircraft, and sea submarines. So this is it. Now the question is why sea-based deterrence is critical. Why not? Why are we not satisfied with the Air Force deterrence or Indian Army? So under ocean, you can keep a submarine stealth and for very longer period of time. So a warship can be easily visible in ocean and they can be attacked. The same thing happened when Iranian warship was returning from India after international fleet review, and it was torpedoed by US warship in international water. So as a result, we have to, so by that example you can understand that why submarines are important and critical in deterrence capacity. So this is it. Difficult to detect submarines, and they can be stealth, and they can survive months underwater. Now China is increasing presence in Indian Ocean region in the form of research vessels and dual use surveillance. It is making India on its toe, pushing India on its toe to go for upgradation and integration of different warfare domains. Now, changing nature of warfare, earlier domains were separated. Air Force was fighting differently, land was Navy was fighting differently, Air Force or Army was fighting differently. Now, as of now, no, that time has gone. Now they are highly interconnected. Now, example, maritime conflict is impacting not only the marine related assets, they are impacting cyber, economy, and diplomacy as well. Now look at West Asian conflict. It started with the air attack, then it moved to army, and then it is leading to maritime choke point attacked and closed by Iran. So we have to be prepared for multi-domain warfare and spillover effect as well. We cannot separate the theater of wars. They can be connected, and there must be integration of armed forces, and that's why we created the position of chief of defense staff, so that we can work on jointness. We can work on jointness means Indian Air Force, Navy, and RB work in coordinated effort. At the same time, India should also move away from conventional weapon system to artificial intelligence integration. Right? Artificial intelligence integration. Now, global context: US US Israel versus Iran tension is leading to maritime escalation. Russia Ukraine war also shows the defense how defense reliance push is important. India cannot be a world superpower, or India cannot secure its boundaries by depending on other powers for their weapon system. India must develop its indigenous capacity. India must push for make in India campaign more vigorously. So reduce India needs to reduce import dependence and boost indigenous capacity. Now self-reliance in defense. Now SSBN program is symbol of strategic autonomy of India. we have launched. By 2030 we are expecting our first indigenous nuclear submarine, fully indigenous, and by 2038 we are completing our nuclear submarine weapon system. Now the warning is the biggest challenge for India's defense sector is delay in defense production and global conflicts affecting supply chain. So what do we need to do? We have to be independent. We have to develop our own defense infrastructure and defense complex. We have to, instead of importing 40 or 42% or 38% weapon system from Russia and other countries, or having the title of biggest importer of weapon system, it will be great for India if we become the net exporter of weapon system. Now, future trajectory. Apart from conventional weapon system, we should move beyond that. We should go for artificial intelligence and autonomous systems integration into India's existing defense platforms. Now, Navy modernization must match with the Chinese space of modernization. So maintain technological parity with China. Next is, so this is quick revision. Now what UPSC final argument says, India is shifting from minimum deterrence to credible and survivable deterrence. Submarine dominance is the core of the future strategy, and security questions now demand technology integration with geopolitics with doctrine of integration. So we cannot work in silos, we cannot work in isolation. We have to integrate multiple domains. Indian Air Force, Navy, and Army must work together. Apart from that, we have to move beyond conventional weapon system. We have to go for the artificial intelligence and its integration into defense. We have to work on the autonomous weapon systems. Only then we can fight future war. So this is it in this article. We will get back to you with the new topic. Now let's talk about another article. There is a series of article related to mapping. In today's newspaper, at least there are 7 8 locations where you need to do mapping, because these are the areas which are coming into the news for the past many months, or I would say year, 1 or 2 years, and you must pay attention to these locations. So let's talk about Israel strike in Lebanon kills 13 security personnel. So Israeli strike despite having ceasefire declaration for 2 weeks. Israel attacked Lebanon while USA and Israel says that Lebanon was not a part of ceasefire proposal. But at the same time, Pakistan, who is playing the role of mediator, and USA, Pakistan and Iran both say that Lebanon was a part of discussion. US always declared that Lebanon, or all the players who were a part of axis of resistance, they must be protected. No offense should be launched. No weapon attack should be launched against any member of axis of resistance. But Israel and USA refused to admit that. So, what happened? The Strait of Hormuz, which was opened for few hours, was blocked immediately as soon as Iran or the world got to know that Israel has launched a massive attack on Lebanon. So, what is the purpose of Israel in attacking Lebanon? Is Israel trying to make something bigger Israel or greater Israel? We'll talk about it, but have a look at it. Israeli strike in Lebanon kills 13 security personnel, and here it is. So first of all, let's do mapping. So instead of Lebanon mapping, what I'll suggest you, I will suggest you to go for mapping the entire Israel. Right? This is how you do mapping of Israel. So let's do mapping here. Let's do mapping. This is Israel. This is West Bank, Palestine, which is no more existing here. We have Lebanon. We have Syria, this side, and there you will find a place known as Golan Heights, known as Golan Heights. We have Sea of Galilee as well, right? We have Jordan here. Right? Then we have Egypt. I'll suggest you to find some new locations. So, Egypt is located here. Then we have West Bank. We have Israel located here. We have Jordan. We have Syria. And we have Lebanon. Lebanon is a part of axis of resistance. What is axis of resistance? These are the proxy network of Iran, right, spread across Middle East, such as Hamas, Hezbollah, then Houthis, Badr organization, Qatab, or something like that. So these are the part of axis of resistance. Um in ceasefire agreement, two versions are there. The first version says Iran and Iran and Pakistan say that Lebanon was a part of the truce, whereas USA and Israel say that Lebanon was not a part of the truce. Lebanon was not a part of the truce, right? So this is how you do mapping. Again, there were certain other names such as Rafah crossing is located between Egypt and Israel. Rafah crossing. This is the Gulf of Aqaba, right? Then we have Khan Yunis. Khan Yunus. What is that? What is that? Is a refugee camp. So remember all these locations and remember the countries. Right, now let's move on to the next article. This is the location of Lebanon, Beirut, which was attacked. Now, aid convoy heads from Turkey to Iran to address humanitarian crisis. So please do mapping of Turkey and Iran and their connectivity. Also do a mapping related to how many countries Iran is surrounded by. Okay, so have a look at it. So here it is Iraq, here it is Iran. So Iran has 700. I mean, this is just a map in a different context. So look at Iran and remember the water bodies and the countries surrounding Iran. Okay, so look at this one. Iran is surrounded by Turkmenistan. Then we have Caspian Sea. We have Argentina. We have Armenia and Azerbaijan. Both are touching the boundary of this Iran. We have Turkey. We have Iraq, and we have Persian Gulf. We have Strait of Hormuz. We have Pakistan. We have Afghanistan. So boundary is clear. Next is China and Taiwan. Chinese and Taiwanese will unite. Z tells Taiwan opposition leader. So have a look at Taiwan. Where is it located? Right, Taiwan is located here, and this can be another theater of war. Theater of war. Okay, so map Taiwan closely. Look at this one. This can be next theater of war. Also remember South Korea and North Korea and location of Japan, Okinawa, Pacific Ocean and all. Now Artemis 2 astronaut hurtle from home from moon towards splashdown, so nothing critical here. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky says that Ukrainian forces shot down Shahed drones in West Asia. In international relations, there is no permanent foe or friend. Dushman ka dushman dost. While Russia is taking the help of Iran and helping Iran in this fight, Ukraine has stood against the West Asian counterparts. So Vladimir Zelensky says that they have helped Middle East countries to shot down Shahed drones launched by Iran. Next is Cuba is open to dialogue with USA, but leadership is not negotiable. So what is happening now? You must be remembering the map of Latin American countries, right? You must be remembering the abduction. You must be remembering the abduction of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, right? Now, this is the map of Latin America, which comprises of many countries. And here comes the Caribbean nations. And Cuba is one of them. Cuba is reeling under crippling sanctions imposed by USA. Why? Because USA says that Cuba is anti-USA and more leaned towards communist countries, socialist countries like Russia, So there is a humanitarian crisis taking shape in Cuba because due to lack of energy, hospitals are shut down, treatment is stopped, people are running out of fuel, there is no fuel at all. So finally, Russia sent million barrels of oil reached Cuba from Russia, but they are far from getting over the crisis created by United States of America. Now, the Cuba leadership has said that we are ready to talk to USA, but without any question on regime change. What is the playbook of USA? What is the playbook of USA? USA plays every strategy from the same book. What is that strategy? That strategy is for your strategic purposes, first attack a country, decapitate leadership. Decapitate leadership means attack them, go for the regime change, then install puppet, then go for the hard bargain, means controlling resources and other things. So first, attack the country. You might have seen this example in multiple countries: Iraq, Iran, right? Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, recently Venezuela. What they do? They kill the leadership, like Saddam Hussein. In Iran, they attacked Ayatollah Khamenei. What they did? Regime change. They did the same in Syria. After killing Assad regime, they installed a puppet, Shurani, not Shurani, install puppet and then capture the resources. So this is what is the favorite playbook of United States of America. And this is what is being done against Cuba. But Cuba has refused to talk about anything that is related to regime change or leadership change. Cuba has refused for any kind of regime change or leadership change. They have demanded that country must be dealt with international law, global rule based order, but we should not talk about rule based order when till the time Donald Trump is sitting at the helm of affair of USA. This man has no sense of ethics, no sense of morality, no sense of integrity. The world has rarely seen so downgraded version of a leader. Right? Now, I will ask you to do a mapping of Caribbean countries. Caribbean countries. Okay? So, look at this one, Cuba. And recently, a Russian oil tanker came to Cuba with, I think, 4 million barrels of oil, and it was expected that US might attack this ship, but US restrained. Next is Cuba. Why US is not happy with Cuba, or why Cuba is under surveillance? Cuba is under crippling sanctions for many decades. Now, conflicted, rooted in ideology and control and sanction. Now, what is the ideology? Ideology is these countries are in the backyard of USA. These countries are in the backyard of USA, and USA considers these countries as anti-USA and pro-Russia and pro-China. So long-standing US embargoes. It's been 60 years since Cuba is under sanctions. Now pressure for political reform, which Cuba has refused, and attempts to regime change, which is the favorite topic, which is the favorite way of doing of USA. Now warning: sanctions are leading to severe economic and humanitarian crisis in Cuba. Now, impact on Cuba, there are fuel shortage, and because of fuel shortage, there are frequent power cuts. There are food and water related scarcity. Health system is crippling and breakdown totally. Now, what is happening? The domestic oil production in Cuba is only 20%. Means, like India is dependent on importing oil, and it needs 88% of its oil imported. In the same way, 80% of domestic oil needs of Cuba comes from other countries, especially Venezuela, but Venezuela is already in turmoil. Next is high import dependence, but if you have put a sanction, they cannot do any kind of trade or deal. How will they pay money? Now, warning risk of long term economic instability, which is already there. Now, Cuba's response, what Cuba has said, Cuba is ready to talk, but there must not be any kind of questions related to regime change or leadership change. We are not going to accept that. Accept leadership change, talk about anything, we will try to cooperate, but not at the cost of our integrity, sovereignty, or territory. Now, economic reforms, what Cuba is doing, Cuba is opening the tourism, energy, and agriculture sector, allowing private businesses and diaspora investment as well. You might find tomorrow, you might hear a news that Adani or Ambani has invested $1 billion in Cuban economy. Now, bullseye, economic recovery without compromising sovereignty. This is what Cuba wants. That we want economic recovery, we want economic reform, but without any kind of change in our leadership or without interfering in our own culture. Cuba is a cultural country. We are a culture, we are a civilization, and we don't want any interference in that. Now, geopolitical dimensions. Russia recently sent an oil ship. Mexico is also giving humanitarian aid. Now, there is a country, CELAC, which is pushing for global unity. Now, declining US influence in Latin America. There is also a question related to global south. There's a question related to global south. What India is doing in this regard? What India is doing in this regard, because India claims to be the voice of global south, and global south countries wholeheartedly support India for its seat in United Nations Security Council. Now, what UPSC says, what the article says, that sovereignty versus sanction. This is what is the balancing thing between Cuba and USA. While Cuba is under sanctions, Cuba wants sanctions to be removed or lessened, but not at the cost of sovereignty. Cuba model. Cuba is looking for economic reform without political liberalization and shift towards multipolar world order. So this is it. Now, the final statement of this article is Cuba US relations reflect the clash between sanction based diplomacy and sovereign political autonomy, accelerating multipolar alignment. So, note this word, this is a good word, sanction based diplomacy. Sanction based diplomacy, which can also be says in Donald Trump's maximum pressure. Maximum pressure. What is maximum pressure? Put so much of sanctions or other kind of embargoes and break down your adversary. When your adversary breaks down, bring him onto the negotiation table. Bring him onto negotiation table. So this is it in this article. Now this next article says government examining compliance burden on MSME due to war. Before we proceed further, let's have a look at these international shipping routes. If you look at these international shipping routes, also look at important choke points, especially Bab el Mandeb or Strait of Hormuz or Strait of Malacca, Cape of Good Hope. It's not a strait exactly, Panama Canal, right, or Suez Canal. Now, India's total share in global trade is 2%, right? It's not big, but anyways, because of this West Asian crisis, what is happening? The Persian Gulf or Strait of Hormuz is already closed, because of which there is an energy insecurity. Apart from that, there is a risk related to Bab el Mandeb as well, because recently Houthis have already targeted this Bab el Mandeb already, and there is a threat that if Israel or USA are going to attack Iran, there is a possibility that Houthis might block this shipping route. So, because of this entire disturbances or because of the war in West Asian region, there is a spillover effect, because of which exporter or the insurance companies are not giving coverage to these transport. So what happens if this particular choke point is closed? You have to move all around Cape of Good Hope and then you will reach European countries. So the distance will be increased, time will be increased, and cost will be increased, and you may be out of competition because the cost benefit will be lost if you travel so much. Instead of crossing Strait of Hormuz, Suez Canal, and going out into the European market, you have to go all the way through Cape of Good Hope. So this is what article is all about. Because of these problems, government is examining compliance burden of on MSME due to war. Because of war, multiple carriages, multiple trucks, multiple um, items are stranded at ports. So when your item is left on port, you have to pay for every day. You have to pay for the warehouse. So the cost will be escalated. And if the cost will be escalated, and if you are coming from micro, small, and medium enterprises, then you will be ruined because you are already working on a very small, thin margin. You are not a big, giant corporation that you are sending or manufacturing 10,000 pieces, 10,000 unit of an item. You are creating a small number of units, and your profit margin is very less. And if this kind of war is going on, which is stopping all the traffic, international traffic, then the cost will be escalated and the problem will be there. So look at this one. The context: government is reviewing issues faced by micro, small, and medium enterprises amid disruption caused by West Asian conflict. Interministerial meeting is going on where the representative from different industrial bodies have met, and they have said that we need some relaxation in terms of compliance because this West Asian war has already derailed our economics. Now the core problem is MSME exporters are facing a triple whammy. What is that? The first one is logistics disruption. Shipments are rerouted or returned to India, means instead of going from Suez of Kunal, they are going through Cape of Good Hope. So shipments rerouted or returned to India. Delays due to unsafe routes because insurance companies will not give you any coverage, or they will charge you 10 times more to cover a ship if it passes through those disputed waters or conflict ridden areas. Next is regulatory and compliance burden. Now, because of this, increased paperwork due to tariff, duties, and penalties, and these micro, small, and medium enterprises, they do not have capacity. They do not have software. They simply maintain their transaction on Excel sheet. They do not have tally for accounting. So if so much of compliance burden is going to happen because of this trade related turmoil, then they are going to be penalized. Now, lack of clarity in procedure. Now, what MSM is facing, the problem is dedicated compliance team and advanced software system. They work on a very thin profit margin. They do not have a specialized team. They do not have a team or the people who are trained in terms of taxation, in terms of documentation. Now, financial stress due to higher cost because they have to change the route. It is leading to they have to keep their items into warehouse, and their shipment will be delayed. And because of this, working capital will be blocked. Next is special challenges. The challenges: back to town process. Return cargo must re-enter export cycle. If insurance companies go on not giving you insurance, Houthis are attacking Bab el Mandeb, what will happen? The cargo will come back to you. Now the cargo will come back to you. They have already gone towards the destination. They will come back. They will double charge you. Apart from that, your item will be unloaded on the port, and this item will be stocked into the warehouse, and the cost will be escalated. So return cargo must re-enter export cycle, complex and time consuming. Apart from that, because of attack on Bab el Mandeb, the diversion of shipment will take place. Export must find alternative routes. Now, tariff quotas, especially Europe, quickly exhausted, delays up to 90 days. Let me explain you what is it. They have a tariff quota. For example, you can sell 100,000 or 100 tons of steel between, let's say, this is India, and there is a tariff quota that India can sell only 100 million steel from January to March, then April to June, then July to October, this way. But if you have to change the route, and instead of Suez Canal, you are covering all the Cape of Good Hope, and then you are reaching the European Union market, you've already exhausted more than 90 days. So what will happen? You have already crossed 90 days, right? This period got lost. You have to wait for another 3 months. Now you have no other choice. Either you can come back, but again it will be a double penalty. So you will stay there. What we will do? You will unload your items and you will keep it into warehouse so that when the next cycle is opened, you can sell your items there. But just imagine the cost will be so high that you'll become non-competitive and your survival will be difficult. Now, key structure issues. MSME rely on fragmented system. They do all their business on the Excel sheet, Microsoft Excel. They do not have high powered tally software. Cannot track rapid regulatory changes efficiently because they do not have trained manpower. So what is happening? The happening is the reduced competitiveness of Indian export, risk of losing global market, and increased uncertainty for small businesses. Now, what government is doing? Government is different ministries, shipping, commerce, and industry. These different ministries are communicating with each other. They are focusing on reducing compliance burden and improving clarity and procedures. So, what government is doing? Global conflicts are exposing structural weakness in MSME sector, especially compliance capacity, logistic resilience, and financial strength. So this is it in this article. Now the next article is related to Great Nicobar Island project tourism as primary growth driver. So government has started 90,000 crore worth of Great Nicobar project. Though environmental activists are opposing this move and civil society is also opposing this move because this is a sensitive zone. I hope you remember the tsunami that was there in Andaman Nicobar Island. So let's move on to this article. NGT clears 92,000 crore Great Nicobar project. So here, do the mapping clearly. Now, small acts of care. Recently, there was a series, and the series name is Kala Pani. Kala Pani on Netflix. Now, this is one of the best series made on the for to showcase the life of tribal people. And I will strongly recommend that whenever you get time, watch Kala Pani to understand what tribal life is all about, how the Andamanese people live, and how their life is encroached upon by invaders or intruders, or how in our corporate greed we are disturbing their life. So, wonderful article, a wonderful series, official trailer related to Kalapani. Watch it, please. Now, let's move on to the mapping part. Have a look at a complete understanding. Have a complete understanding related to Andaman and Nicobar. This is the Campbell National Park, Greater Nicobar Island. This is the Campbell Bay. This is Joginder Nagar. These are Galathia Bay. This is Indira Point, the southernmost point. This is Andaman Island and this is Nicobar Island. Do not get confused. And this is the 11-degree channel, which separates Little Andaman with the normal common Andaman. And here it is Nicobar Island, group of islands. And what the government is trying to do, government is trying to promote tourism there, green and recreational activities, coastal tourism, coastal regulation zone, defense infrastructure, special use, other industrial and logistical hub, commercial hubs, institutional hubs, airport, and other container ship. This is what government wants. So have a proper mapping. What UPSC syllabus says. GS paper 3 covers environment, EIA, environmental impact assessment and infrastructure. GS2 tribal rights and governance. GS paper 1 island ecology and coastal systems. Great Nicobar, it's a 92,000 crore great mega project, and the primary growth driver is going to be tourism. Now, global tourism hub plus a strategic maritime node. Vision 2005 says that population by 2035, Government of India is planning to establish at least 3.36 lakh population there and tourist 1 million per year. Now, infrastructure backbone, transportation will be there, international airport, power plants, and smart township will take there. What government wants to do? In Campbell Bay, they will establish an admin hub. Galathia Bay, there will be port and defense related infrastructure. In Eastern Coast, tourism belt will be there. Now, the purpose of government is developing a tourism, logistic, and defense integration hub there. Now, critical issues. The critical is the tribal connect. Consent withdrawn. Earlier, the tribals gave the consent, but later the consent was withdrawn and they are raising their voice. They are opposing this entire project. Forest right unresolved. There is a risk of displacement and legal violation. So this is the biggest issue there. Now, environmental risk. Forest of 121 square kilometer will be diverted, which is eco-sensitive zone. Biodiversity hotspot will be damaged. There are particularly vulnerable tribal groups. They will be they will be displaced. And again, there are multiple endemic species, plant and animal species are there, so they may be disturbed completely. So fragile island ecosystem might collapse. It's also a disaster prone area, tsunami prone plus seismic zone 5. 1 million tourist visit with limited carrying capacity. Do you think that 1 million tourist visit Andaman can survive? It is beyond their carrying capacity, and if it is beyond their carrying capacity, it will lead to ecological disaster. Again, it is a zone 5 disaster prone area. So in case if there is any disaster, thousand and thousand people will get perished. Next is governance gaps, ongoing legal challenge, and there were and there was a lack of public consultation. So there is a transparency deficit, and this is it. uh, Nothing more in this article, and yep, there are other articles which are not so critical. So this is it in this article. We'll get back to you on Monday with the new details. Thank you so much. Wish you a wonderful day ahead. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.